Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. Glad you're here this morning. We got a great show lineup. We're going to get a fishing report from down the Cape. We got a guest here. They're going to talk about boats and everything. So all kind of stuff going on today on Panhandle Outdoors. Let's first look at our weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center at Baldwin Road and Highway 77. The weather today, it's going to be low tonight at 38. So yesterday didn't get quite as cold as it said it was, but low tonight is going to be 38 and high 59. So we got a little cool snap. We had a southerly wind coming in yesterday. It blew in a lot more warmer air, I think, than the weatherman had anticipated. The meteorologist had predicted a low of 41. It was about 61 when we got up yesterday. But anyway, today's going to be tonight will be low 38. Water temperature is pretty well solid at 63. Now, it has not made that move yet, what I always call that springtime move, where it just jumps up a degree or two. Remember, I did that chart last year on the water temperature. We may pull it back out and look at it, or maybe chart what's going on this year. It's been pretty level around 62, 63. So we'll be taking a further look at it later. Look at the river systems, the Apalachicola, Bluntstown. It continues to a slow recession there. It's not dropping too fast. It's reading this morning at a 19.1. It's going to stay that way on through tonight and into Thursday, and it's going to start dropping a little bit more swifter on Thursday. So Swiftwater Slough will live up to its name. Choctawhatchee River at Caryville, now that's a good steady drop right there. It's reading 11.6 this morning, and just a good steady drop. But look at it's going to level off on Friday night about 7 o'clock. It's going to level off and should be pretty steady water on the Choctawhatchee for the weekend. But it's going to be dropping pretty fast the next couple of days, okay? Our tide chart, we talked about this yesterday, really good strong tide this week. Today's Wednesday, March the 6th. And by the way, now we're going into daylight savings time this weekend. Don't let it catch you by surprise. It's a little bit earlier this year, and it's going to be this coming Sunday morning will be our time change, okay? Tide this morning is low at 248 and a high at 442. Got a good 2-foot range there, 1.9 to be exact, and good strong tides and a good incoming tide all day today, okay? Every Wednesday morning, I like to call down to St. Joe, Kate Sandblast, one of our big sponsors, Blue Water Outriggers. They've been with us since day one. Good folks down there, and just a great store. I was in it this past weekend. I marvel every time I go in it at the variety of stuff. This is not one of these chain stores. This is a local folk, a local family. They built this place from bottom up, supplied it, and have local workers there, and all that money stays in this area. So our hats off to Blue Water Outriggers. All right, Captain Blair Morgan, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, buddy. I know this past weekend I was down there, so it blew and it was cold. So I know the past report is not going to be too good, right?
No, I tell you what, Winston, the weather has just been really bad, so there's not a whole lot of fishing going on at all. The only thing I've heard anything about is if you like to bush hook for catfish, it's really good over around the Apalachicola River system over there. I've got a friend that's really catching a bunch of them just running bush hooks, but other than that, it's just, the weather's just been so bad, nobody's been doing anything.
Well, I know. We're going to say that's water under the bridge now. Let's look forward to the next couple of weekends. We know you've got your place up there in the National Forest up there around Tate's Hill, and you got one of those little feeder creeks that goes into the Apalachicola. How does that creek look?
Winston, this is as it was 5 or 6 years ago when we had one of the major hurricanes that came in. I mean, it's my dock's completely underwater, and the water's in the backyard. It's way high. There's water everywhere.
So the whole
everywhere up there.
Okay, so we're not going to get any rain next couple of days, looks like, so we're going to start receding now. Well, I know the weather's going to start warming up within the next week or two. Are you going to, what kind of freshwater fishing can we anticipate out of there?
Well, I tell you what, when the water starts running out of the woods, coming back into the creeks, you can fish at the mouth of those ditches, and it's going to be good for the bluegill and everything right there with that water coming out of the woods. But one thing right now, within a week or two, whenever this weather straightens out and warms up, the Spanish are going to start running around here in the Pompano and Jacoby and everything else. So this is a good time of year to pull them maintenance on your boat. You know, make sure your batteries are charged and your brakes aren't locked up on your trailer. And just pull maintenance, so when you do get a chance to go, when it's pretty, you know, you get to the boat ramp and everything's going to work.
All right, that's exactly right. In fact, we're doing a lot of that on the show today, so that's a good lead up, Blair. We appreciate it.
All right.
Okay, we'll see you in a couple of days.
Okay.
All right, take it easy. Captain Blair Morgan for Blue Water Outriggers. Don't forget now, their annual tent sale in the springtime is going to be April 12th and 13th. I know that's a month away, but go ahead and put it on your calendar. The big sale there at Blue Water Outriggers, April 12th and 13th. All right, let's take our break, and we'll be back with our guest. All right, welcome back, and welcome Captain Rick Corley. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah.
Boy, Rick, the first thing, we're going to talk about boats and all today, but first thing, I see this big old award you got. Tell us, this is really nice. Tell us about this.
Well, it was a surprise to me, but when I was up at the training seminar in Charleston, South Carolina, the president of International Association of Marine Investigators presented me with this award. Primarily, we train other people how to do these jobs, and I've been working with them for a long time doing some of the training and so on, but we work together, and now we have real close to fruition a Marine Investigators course that will be offered in conjunction with the Underwater Forensic School at Florida State. And this is something that the international group is extremely excited about, because it'll be the only place you can get that kind of training. And it's a big deal. It's going to help the college. It's going to help IAME. It's going to help the industry. It's a win-win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
So they felt like that I'd done enough work to deserve a plaque anyway.
Well, that's great, and we'll talk about that more in depth later, but that's going to add a lot for our young people in the area, too, to be able to pursue something like that here locally.
Well, it will, because, you know, Underwater Forensic School's got a great reputation. They do a good job. But that particular venue, you've got to go to someplace like L.A. or New York, a big police department, because that's all they're qualified in, is the underwater forensics. Well, only big police departments usually have that kind of need. So by doing the Marine Investigator, you can tie them kind of together. It gives them a route into maybe a smaller police force that's needing a Marine Investigator, and they also happen to have the ability to do underwater forensics, which is outstanding. They get 2 for 1. That makes them very attractive to the police force, and at the same time, it gives them a route into their career. So it is a good deal. The other thing is it helps International Association of Marine Investigators, because we're expanded and we have the ability to interact and compare notes. And, you know, boat theft is no longer just here and go to another state. It goes clear to Europe. There's a lot of boats stolen in Florida that wind up in Europe somewhere. I mean, they can go in, a lot of small boats can go into a container and be gone before you find them.
Well, congratulations on winning that award on behalf of Panhandle Outdoors. And this is just a reflection of the quality of our guests we have on here and our sponsors. You know, yesterday we had Rick, I was telling you yesterday we had Alan Courtney. I was talking about bass fishing, and you know, one of the top bass fishermen around today. We got Rick, and he's recognized internationally. And I'm just proud to have all you guys on and share all your knowledge with our viewing audience.
Wow.
Now, that's something good. I know your dad would be proud. He really would.
I hope.
I know
and
how
I
close
think
you
you
were.
would. Yeah.
I know your dad would.
I was lucky enough to get. They give this award to one person every year, and I got it in 03, 07, and now 2013.
Yeah.
So
well,
that's kind of nice.
That's great. And the beneficiaries will be, you know,
our kids out
our kids.
Well, they're not kids, but our young people
Yeah.
at Florida State, and they're doing a good job. And Mark Fullner and Tom Kelly do an outstanding job of teaching.
And we need to go there one day, and maybe John can do it. Or if John gets away from me before we can get it done, go there and do some video on there and interview those folks and all about that program they have. That's a good program.
Yeah.
Look, it's a good time to take a break now. Then we'll come back and talk about boats. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, going back with Rick now, we're talking about this wind. Blew really hard yesterday. Today's blowing 17 to 20. Small craft warnings.
Right.
What level are they getting the small craft warnings?
18 knots and above is small craft, and people think little boat, but small craft is anything under 20 meters. That's 65.6 feet.
Okay.
So if you're not over 66 foot, don't go out there. You won't like it.
Yeah. And it's coming out. Yesterday's out south, and they're coming out north now. So that's where the cool air is coming from.
Right.
But it's just blowing a lot. And it's like John and I were talking during the commercial break. It's tough on the fishermen. I know some guys trying to get ready for the redfish tournament and scouting it out and all. And and like Blair talked about earlier, nobody's just going out. It's too rough. And speaking of boats, we got to. Spring maintenance.
Yep.
I call this early spring maintenance.
It's time right now to check out all your boating equipment. Make sure your flare kits are still within date. That's one thing that most people forget. The other thing is check your running lights, check your horn, the whole 9 yards. But one of the easiest ways to do that is get the Coast Guard Auxiliary to come do a courtesy marine exam on your boat. If you don't have something or something's not working, they don't write a ticket. They just tell you got to get it fixed. But you get a sticker from them once you've completed this and everything's in order. And you place that on the left side of your boat where if they come alongside, they can see it. Well, unless you're doing something rather stupid, they're not going to bother you. They'll come by, see that you got the sticker, you've got the equipment. Yeah. They'll go on about their business. Same thing with the Marine Patrol. Unless you're doing something really dumb, then they're going to stop you anyway. Then they should. But
well, one of the things, too, usually whatever goes wrong, it usually starts somewhere around electrical. I found that over the years with all my boats and all. And one of the big questions, I've had people ask me this before, I'll pass this on to you. Do you leave, if you're going, a lot of people, and like me, for example, I hunt a lot during the winter, and I don't take my boat that much now. Do you take your battery cables off, or you leave them on?
I would take them off in the wintertime, simply because if a battery goes bad, you can have a short. You can have lots of things. We were on a boat the other day, and one of the batteries had gone bad. And when we started to try the generator, it started smoking on the battery, and we immediately stopped what we were doing because a battery can explode in certain situations. One of the things I recommend people doing about every 4 or 5 years that they don't quite do is because you don't turn it on and off, but your bond system in most of your bigger boats, the negative ground stays in continuity all the time to protect against corrosion. Well, you don't turn it on, you don't turn it off, they're just connected. But over a period of time, they will build a corrosion in between the connecting points. And your bond system's not really working like it ought to. So if you can back that screw off, move that out, and take emery cloth or fine sandpaper and clean it a little bit, and then tighten it back down, it'll make good contact. And I like to either put a little silicone grease or spray it with silicone spray over it to kind of seal it up. But that will keep your bond system on your boat working properly. And that needs to be done about every 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
It helps. The other thing is your boat sits for a long period in the winter, and it's to open air. If you've got an exhaust system, you can get corrosion in there, and by the time you want to use your boat, you find out you got an elbow or a manifold that's rusted through, and now you got another problem that's going to delay your use of the boat. About every 4 or 5 years, I like to pull the riser or pull the exhaust off where you can see in the riser and see if you got any corrosion going on, that type thing.
Yeah.
Check all your through hole, sea caulks, things of that nature.
Well, you mentioned something about seeing, and always talking about a visual inspection. There's nothing beats a visual inspection is walking around the boat. I know at the end of last year, I had finished up scalloping season and just cleaned off my boat and everything, and I was looking at my prop, and I'd had some fishing line, and Lord knows where it came from because I was scalloping.
Yep.
But some fishing line had wrapped around, I guess somebody had discarded it and all.
Yep.
But and I just picked it up. It wasn't anything serious, but it could have been.
It could have been if left alone, it would get serious.
So just looking real close at everything and all.
Yep.
And
but like I say, go through and turn everything on and off a few times to see that it's working, because that way you exercise it, your sea caulks. And I like to put the boat in the water, turn the pumps on. Mess with your float switch. A lot of times your pump may be working fine, but your float switch is quit. I mean, you're in the most hostile environment in the world. Salt air, salt water. And the sun is trying to kill everything that's vinyl or fiberglass, and salt air is trying to eat up everything electrical and metal.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot.
It's getting hit from all sides.
And if you got a good UV protectant wax,
that's what I was going to ask next.
Wax your boat.
Do you wash it off every time? Do people wash the big
I would wash the boat.
I do too.
You go out here around Bay Point, you'll see a guy out there about somewhere washing a boat every day.
Yeah.
To keep the salt off of it, and you will see them. A lot of times here, people will wax the boat once a year.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine, but it really needs to be 2. We do it in March, and then about the end of July or the 1st of August, you ought to do it again, because by then the sun's right straight up, and it really does put a lot. And people say, well, that's a lot of work. Yes, it is, especially if it's a big boat. 45-foot boat is a lot of area to work, and it's tough on the shoulders. But to repaint or re-gel coat costs you $230 to $240 a linear foot to redo that hull if your gel coat dies. So waxing a hull is a cheap alternative to having to redo the whole hull.
Okay, all right. Before we take a break, you got a bumper
sticker
you want to read.
I got something I want to read to you. It says, this year will go down in history. For the first time, a civilized nation has full gun registration. Our streets will be safer, our police more efficient, and the world will follow our lead into the future. Now, that sounds like I'm talking about the present administration, but if you'll notice, that was written by Adolf Hitler and stated by him in 1935. I hate what happened up in Connecticut, but the gun didn't do it. It's the idiot behind the gun, and I don't care if you took the gun, he would have went in there with a machete. When they killed a lot of people in Rwanda, Africa, I happened to be over there, and the majority of them were killed with machetes because they didn't have a gun. People that are evil are going to find a way to do evil.
That's right.
And the best way is what they said. You put armed personnel, and that can stop it, because that's the only thing that'll work against it.
All right. Let's take our break and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. See, we're recording, talking about all kind of questions. John's got some questions, we ask him too. But first, let's look at our fish and game forecast for today, brought to us by Mark Coward of Edgewater Beach Realty at 832-6000. Our times today, we're looking at 7:18 to 9:18 this morning. Excellent time, you don't get blown away. And tonight, 7:47 and 9:47, you're getting ready to set those trot lines. That'll be a good time for those catfish to be biting. Several questions on here. One of them, the water line is always, especially if you've been around bay water, dirty water, river water and all, how do you keep that water line clean off the hull? No matter if it's 16 or 60 footers. What's the best way to keep that water line clean off your boat?
What I would suggest there, and I'm not an expert on that particular part, but I know a fellow that does know, and that's Jimmy Bush over at Northwest Florida Boat Works, right there on 11th Street. Jimmy has quite a line of products, and I'm sure that he could tell you what works the best, because they do that kind of, they sell those type of products. I know that acetone will take it off, but that might be a little harsh.
That's strong.
Yeah, it is. It's strong. And I don't know that you'd want to do that on a regular basis. And he keeps up on that type stuff more than I do. I'll be quite honest with you. I don't actually do the cleaning. I just tell him it needs to be clean.
John was asking off air about the hull identification number on it.
Right.
That's always
in 1972 in November, any boat built after that should have a 12-digit hull identification number. We call it a HIN number on the stern, somewhere near the hull to deck joint, and it'll be 1 foot of the stern corner. It'll be on the side or on the very stern itself, right at the top there of the hull. And the last 3 digits, for example, if it was 405, was built in 2004, somewhere between August and December, and it's an 05 model. That last digit is the year model. All boats have them. Since 1984, they've got a hidden HIN number somewhere else in the hull, so that if this boat is suspicioned to be a stolen boat, the law enforcement can call a factory. They will tell them where to look, and they look, and if they don't match, or if one's missing and the other one's still in existence, you may have a stolen boat, and they're going to go further.
I did not know that. So it must be hidden pretty well.
It is. It is.
Okay.
And there's only a few of us who know where they are, and we don't impart that knowledge.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Don't let the bad guys know.
No.
All right, real quick, manatee. We're going to talk about it. John's going to be on the show tomorrow with a video of a manatee. We're going to tell you where he saw it, but you had a big experience with manatee.
Yeah, I did.
Briefly tell us about it.
I ran a tug for a while. It was running across the Gulf carrying crude oil to the Bunker C, or to the power plants in South Florida. And we had a little vibration. We thought maybe we'd dinged a prop, something had gone through the propeller. Well, these propellers are nearly 20 feet in diameter. They're huge. So I dropped over the side with a tank and swam down to see what I could see, because we're in clear water there in Port Everglades. And while I'm looking at the propeller, all of a sudden something hits my tank hard enough to knock me end over end. I mean, he really banged, you know. And I thought, have we got a shark coming here? You know, am I dinner or what? Yeah. And I didn't have anything, so I turned around ready to fight. And here's this manatee. He just swam up there and just kind of nudged me with his nose. But in the water, you know, I don't weigh but a couple 100 pounds, and he's over 1,200 pounds. Yeah. Huge manatee. And I'm looking at it, and he's there like, what are you doing? You know, and I thought, wow, okay. But he didn't bother me anymore. He's just curious. Yeah. He just come up and nudged me like, what are you doing?
But you didn't know that at the time.
It kind of shook me up for a minute, and then I realized, oh, okay.
You're looking for a place to hide in those props too. You're gonna wrap up in that prop. I can see that. That's a good story. Okay, we're going to start wrapping things up, but you know, anytime you have a question on boats and all, you know, Rick's had so much experience and all, and he's our resident expert on our boats and all, the care and maintenance.
If I don't know, I'll go look it up, or I'll ask somebody, and I'm going to ask Jimmy about that. That's a good question.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry I don't have an exact
answer.
That's if I don't know, I'm not going to tell anybody something.
And we'll get it, and we'll pass it on to our viewers.
There you go.
All right, thanks, Rick, for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, folks, and thank y'all for watching the show. You be sure to do something good for some other day, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.